Richard Pennell and welcome to the Mortgage Home channel. We are your buy-to-let mortgage and insurance experts. And in this video, I want to talk about Labour's proposed shock EPC rule changes. We knew it was coming. The Tories had it on the table last year, but couldn't get it through. And of course, they went out of power. Labour have always said they're going to bring it back front and centre. And there's some shock potential changes. Now, before I get into the detail and explain what those are, please, if you haven't done already, do subscribe and like the channel. It does give us that feedback that people are not only watching it, but actually we're getting the content right. And that's really important feedback for us. So please do that before we get into the content this morning. Okay, so let's get on with it. What's Ed Miliband up to? Well, the biggest headline is that the Tories had this, and Labour, when they were saying they were going to bring it back in, had a 2030 timetable to bring this new ruling in. And of course, as landlords, and I'm thinking the same, look, we're 5 years away. There's a lot of water to flow under the bridge between now and then. Look, that's an issue for another day. But here's the thing. Ed's now saying he's going to bring that forward by 2 years to 2028. So all of a sudden, it's now starting to loom a little larger in the rear view mirror, isn't it? So we've got this 2028 proposed date of implementation. Now, this is for new tenancies. If your tenant leaves and a new one wants to come in from 2028, then what Ed is proposing is that your EPC rating must be an A, a B, or a C. The D and below will no longer be acceptable. But for existing tenancies, we've got till 2030 still. So you might go, oh, well, you know, I'm an optimist. My tenants have been in for ages. So I can sit back and still think of it as a 2030 deadline. Now, I absolutely think this is a red herring. And we do not want to get suckered into thinking that the real deadline or timetable is 2030, because here's why. We get to 2028 and all your tenants are still in situ and you think they're happy as Larry. Then all of a sudden you get that email, you get that text, you get that letter from the tenant giving notice. And it happens to be on a property that is a D rating because you were thinking that your tenant was going to stay until 2030. And all of a sudden, not only is your tenant leaving, you now cannot advertise and you cannot let that property anymore because it's a D. And now you're on the back foot. And now you are desperately ringing around tradespeople to ensure that the improvements that are going to take it from a D to a C are put in place immediately, because now you're hemorrhaging rent. You're not getting any rent in. So you've got to do something really quick. So for me, the 2030 timeline we should ignore. 2028 is what we as landlords, assuming you're not going to be selling those problem properties up, you know, you may have a different plan, but either way, have a plan to either get those properties up to that point for 2028, or as I said, if you've got a plan to sell, as other landlords are doing, then, you know, but have a strategy. Don't stick your head in the sand and wait for 2030. Now, the consultation is starting essentially right now. So look, things will change. The shape of the EPC reforms are no doubt gonna shift and move around as we go through the year, and I'll endeavour to bring you those updates as they happen. Now, one thing that the Ed has already said, that next year there'll be new metrics for how you calculate A, B, C, D, E, etc., how those bandings will be calculated. So now I'm thinking, although in some ways I'm saying, let's have a bit of urgency as landlords, as far as 2025 is concerned, I'm going to actually contradict myself a little bit and say we should maybe just sit on our hands until we understand and they've published what those new metrics are going to be. Because one, it's a gamble to start investing in energy improvement jobs when we don't know what the impact on the ratings are going to be. And secondly, look, there's over 2.5 million properties that don't meet the new guidelines. What I don't see is Ed Miliband making those bandings even harder to get. Otherwise, he's going to push even more of that 2.5 million into a D bracket and create a bigger headache for everybody. There'll be an absolute crisis. So will it be that the new metrics will actually bring more of the D properties into a C automatically? Obviously, we don't know this. We're crystal ball gazing. But if that was the case, then you'll have spent money now pushing them from a D to a C. And it might turn out that we didn't have to lift a finger or invest in that property. So that's why I'm saying right now, until the new metrics are out, I would sit on the fence. Let's see what happens and then work with knowledge and with some facts rather than assumptions that might be a very expensive mistake. It still gives us 26, 27 and possibly part of 2028 to get our house in order. So I don't think that's it. I think to me, that seems common sense and seems a pragmatic way forward. Now, in the interim, there are grants and schemes out there and pots of money that you as landlords may, and or indeed your tenant may be eligible for. So look, focusing on these. And if you haven't, grab a pen and paper and make a note of these two organisations. We've got the GBIS, Great British Insulation Scheme, been around for a number of years, and there's grants and funds there to ensure that the property, if it's not already done, can be insulated. We've also got the boiler upgrade scheme. So Google that, have a look into it, see if you or the property might be eligible there for boiler upgrades. In addition to that, we've got further advances. Now, I'm not going to go into what those are. You should all understand, or most people, what a further advance is, the extra borrowing that you can get from your existing lender. And almost all lenders offer preferential rates if you knock back on their door. So you're already locked into, let's say, a 5-year deal. There's another 2 or 3 years still to go. You can still go back to the existing lender and apply for an extra pot of money, 5, 10, 15 grand. And you can borrow them from any purpose. But if you can prove it's for energy efficiency purposes, they'll offer you preferential rates. Now, I did a video on this last year. And again, if you want to just make a quick note, if you want to look into a little bit more detail to see if that's something that resonates with you and you want to take forward, if you search on our videos on the channel, green mortgages, just type in green mortgages in the video section search bar, the top video that'll come up, and then go to around the 5th minute. And within that short video, around minute 5, I go into a little bit more detail about further advances for energy efficiency purposes. You get a little bit more information. So hopefully that's been really useful. And as I said, as the consultation evolves and it goes through the various houses, I will endeavour to come back and keep you guys up to date. Hope you found that video useful. Have a great day.